Welcome everybody. This video is going to explain what you need to do to complete our assignment for the MGF 1107 GLO. The first thing that you'll want to do is you'll want to go to our Canvas page and print this document. Okay. Once you have printed the document and you've watched the remainder of this video, you'll be ready to attempt the quiz for this section. Now, whenever you open the quiz for this assignment, all these places where there are currently boxes on your printable document, this will be filled in with actual numbers that you won't see until the quiz. Okay, so print the document. Once you open the quiz, copy down the exact numbers here, 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 and here, and that's going to be what you're working with. And then in order to help you prepare to take the quiz on your own, we are going to go through this exact assignment with different numbers than what you'd see on the quiz so that you can practice it. And then once you're confident with the different steps, you'll open our quiz with your printed file next to you. You'll fill in the blanks. You'll work through the problems as I've discussed in this video. And then once you're done, you're going to take a photo of the assignment where you can clearly see the whole page. Don't write your name. And then you're going to upload that photo into the Canvas quiz. And that's going to be what I'm going to grade for this assignment. So if you have questions just about how to prepare before you take the quiz, do reach out. I'll be happy to answer them. But just to quickly highlight to everybody, you will go to Canvas, you'll print out this document, you'll watch this entire video, email me if you have questions afterwards where it discusses how to work through the problem. And then once you're ready, you'll take the quiz with your printed blank piece of paper here, work through the problems, and then upload a picture of your work within the quiz. Now this is going to be our practice assignment. These are not the same numbers as what will be in the quiz. This is just for practice. So for practice, let's assume that a family has made the decision to purchase a house. Let's assume they qualify for a $150,000 mortgage. The lender offers them a 30-year mortgage at 5.6% interest rate with 4% down and what we call 1 point due at closing. We're told that we can use a scientific or graphing calculator, and we need to round all of our answers to the nearest dollar. So keep that in mind. Our final answers will need to be rounded to the nearest dollar. Okay, so again, this is our practice assignment. There's going to be different numbers in the quiz, but going with these, to calculate the down payment, you always figure out, okay, they said 4% down, so we need to find 4% of our mortgage, so 4% of 150,000. Remember to find a percentage of the number. You change the percent to a decimal by finding the decimal place and moving that twice. So I'm going to take 0.04, multiply it by 150,000, and that will give me $6,000. So that would be the down payment in this example. Next up is the amount financed. Now what the amount financed is saying is, if we put $6,000 up front, how much is the loan actually for? And to find the amount financed, it's always the mortgage amount that they're qualified for minus the down payment. So in our case, since we're putting $6,000 down, we need to take that away from the $150,000 originally in the loan. And that would be the amount financed is $144,000. Now the amount due to points is always seen as, it says 1 point. 1 point means 1% of the mortgage amount. So we're looking at 1% of the amount of the mortgage, which they said we qualified for $150,000. Now we know to find a percentage of a number, we take the percent, change it into a decimal by moving the decimal place twice, and then we multiply that number by the mortgage. And one thing that y'all will want to watch out for here is we multiply by the mortgage amount, not the amount financed. So it's 0.01 times 150, and there's going to be $1,500 due to points. And that's all you would need to do for this first section, okay? And if you'd like to reference this later, keep in mind that you have instructions on how to find each of these on the paper that you're going to print out. The down payment is calculated by taking the percent times the amount of the mortgage. That's exactly what we did here, 4% of $1,500. The amount financed is found by taking the amount of the mortgage minus the down payment. That's what we did for our second blank. The amount due to points is the number of points, which would be written in the problem, as a percent times the amount of the mortgage. That's what we did here. So remember, as you actually are taking the quiz for this assignment, since you have this paper printed out, you can reference the instructions on the lower half of the page. Okay, now let's go back to our practice. We're asked to find the monthly house payment and then what will be the final amount that we paid at the end of 30 years. So to find the monthly payment, we need to use this formula here. And all of the variables used in this formula are explained at the bottom of the page. P is the amount financed. So for us, that would be $140,000 in this example. R is the annual percentage rate of the loan written as a decimal. So our percentage rate is 3.5. And we know to take percents to decimal, we move the decimal place over twice. So R is 0.035 for us. N is the number of annual payments made. So since we're doing monthly payments, there will be 12 payments made. So N is 12 for us. And then it said it was a 30-year loan, so T should be 30. So P is 140,000 for this problem. N is the number of payments made, which is 12. T is 30. So once we've figured those out, all that we have left to do is substitute these correctly into the formula and then correctly calculate what the monthly mortgage payment would be. So let's write out this formula here. So my monthly payment will be equal to, it says P, 140,000, times R, the percent written as a decimal, 0.35, we found it, divided by 12, that's the top, all divided by, okay, parentheses, 1 minus parentheses, I'm just copying exactly what I see written, 1 plus, okay, R is our 0.035 again, divided by 12, close the parentheses, and then all of this is raised to the negative 12 times 30, and then close the final parentheses. And let's just highlight it so we can see where everything's coming from. Okay. So I'd encourage everybody to do just like I did, label what all the variables would be based on the problem that you'll see in the quiz. Then write out how you're going to substitute it all so that you have something to reference. The next stage is going to take a bit of time, and this is where you need to be the most careful due to entering things correctly in the calculator. So what I encourage everybody to do is to calculate the top first. Maybe we'll label this number 1. Calculate this portion next, number 2. And then finally calculate from that 1 minus that number for the whole bottom. That's our number 3. So let's work at this piece at a time with our calculator. So first up, number 1, that's going to be the top, which is 140,000 times, okay, 0.035 divided by 12. Notice I'm typing in exactly what I see to the calculator, and that gives me that number, 408.3 repeating. I'm going to write out a good amount of the decimal places, okay? So I'll write 408. Got that. Okay. Next up is I want to find not the entire denominator because that's a lot to type at once, but I want to find what this is raised to the exponent of negative 12 times 30. Now my first encouragement to everybody would be to write this out. So this is going to be 1 plus 0.035 divided by 12. Now instead of writing it to the exponent negative 12 times 30, let's figure out what that should be. It's going to be negative 12 times 30 is actually the negative 360 as my exponent. So that's what goes there. We can type this in our calculator. 1 plus 0.035 divided by 12. Make sure that we type exactly what we see there. Press enter. Now that needs to be raised to the exponent negative 360. So here's my exponent. Your exponent button might look different on your calculator, but I'm going to say raise that to the 0 minus 360. That's the only way I can make my calculator say negative 360. And we get this. Okay, let's write out a few decimal places. 0.350 47296. Okay. Now a few notes here. Your calculator button, mine looked like this. Your calculator might have something like this as the exponent, in which case you would type parentheses 1 plus parentheses 0.035 divided by 12. Close the parentheses for the division, close the parentheses for the addition, exponent parentheses minus 360. And one thing to note as well, look at your calculator. There should be a minus symbol that is different than your subtraction symbol. Don't use your subtraction symbol here. Depending on your calculator, it might look like this, but just look for the minus symbol that's different than your subtraction. So we type that in and we got this value. Next up, we know to find the value of the total bottom, it's 1 minus that number we just found. So we're taking this complicated formula and breaking it down into pieces. So number 3 is saying 1 minus the number that you just found for 2. And that will be equal to 1 minus 0.35047296. That 0 point, and we'll write out all those decimal places. Okay. Now that you've watched this explanation, let's finish up, and then I'd encourage you to go back to the beginning and try it again on your own. So to find the final answer, the mortgage payment, monthly mortgage, is going to be what we found in number 1 divided by number 3. So for us, that will be 4.08.3333, all divided by 0.649527004. So now we're dealing with the fact that the formula has us divide the top and the bottom. And we get 628.66 if we rounded to the nearest cent. And remember that this problem told us to only write in to the nearest dollar. So rounding this, we'll have to look. If the number to the right of the decimal place is 5 or greater, you round up. So we should say our monthly payment is $629. If the number to the right of the decimal place is less than 5, you stay the same. So our monthly mortgage is $629. Now that you've seen this explanation, I would encourage you to go back to the very beginning of the portion of the video where we started calculating the monthly mortgage payment and try to calculate it on your own first. See, are you getting what I got for the top? Are you getting what I got for this portion? Then are you correctly saying 1 minus that? Then are you correctly dividing them? Practice that a few times so that you're familiar with how you type it into your calculator, what's the procedure doing this correctly, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this just outlines how to use this formula in a step-by-step manner. Once you feel confident with that, continue with the rest of the video. So we know what this means. Every month for 30 years, we're paying $629 as our monthly mortgage payment. So to find the total amount paid, you take the monthly mortgage payment times the amount for 1 year, and then you do this for 30 years. So this will be $629 times 12 times 30. So the total amount paid is $226,440 over the lifetime of the loan. And if you're interested in the instructions for that, it's given here on number 5, so you can reference that later. Now, in order to calculate the total amount of interest paid, all we have to do is we take the total amount that we paid over the entire course of the loan and subtract out the loan amount. Well, we had the loan originally for $140,000. So if we take our total amount paid minus the original amount of the loan, we paid $86,440 in interest payments. And hopefully everybody remembers we had a mortgage assignment activity for your personal finance project. And remember, from that activity, we saw that the way you can lower the amount that you pay as the interest on the loan is by paying more off per month than required. So then you have the loan for a less amount of time. You could also increase your down payment. So we saw some different options there in that previous assignment. And for later, if you're interested, we do have the explanation of total interest paid, total paid, which you just found, minus the amount financed. Now these numbers might be alarming at first. It is a lot of money, but anything done regularly over 30 years can add up to be quite a bit of money. So what we're looking at in our final question is, before you look at the interest paid and decide you're never going to buy a house, look at renting for 30 years instead. Assume we're renting a 3-bed, 2-bath apartment, and let's suppose over the entire 30 years it stays at $800 per month. So assume that it never goes up, but in reality it would do so. What would be the rent paid over 30 years? Well, here you take the amount that you pay per month, times 12 gets you the yearly amount, times 30 gets you the 30-year amount. So 800 times 12, we would be paying $9,600 a year for 30 years, and that's $288,000. So we actually would be paying more in this particular example with this loan at this interest rate and this monthly rental comparison. We would have paid more renting for 30 years than we did through the mortgage. And that's what you have to do for this assignment. So once you finish the quiz, you would take a picture where you can see all of these blanks and then upload that within the quiz. Now do keep in mind, when you open the quiz, it's not going to be these numbers. There are going to be new numbers so that you'll want to write this down. This was just for practice. Okay, so before you take the quiz, I'd encourage you to attempt this on your own again. Make sure you're able to get the same values. Once you're confident with that, you're ready to take the quiz, so long as you have the blank page printed out. So when you sit down to the quiz, print out the blank page, fill in the values for the quiz, and then complete the assignment. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them, and I hope you have a good day.